Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking this time to join on Lunch and Learn in this month. My name is Schubert Rodriguez. I'm a software developer and member of the Jobsity HR department. It's really nice to have some people interested in this topic and people are passionate about technology. And yeah, that's awesome. Taking out this topic, let me introduce you to Marcelo. He's an awesome and very skilled UX UI designer, and he's working from the Quito office, well, Quito, Ecuador. And now, please welcome everybody to Marcelo, who is going to talk about graphic design versus UX UI design.
Thank you, Schubert. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone who is watching here. Have a very good day. Today, I'm going to talk about this topic about graphic design and UX UI design. I hope you enjoy this Lunch and Learn, and we can learn and share many interesting information with you. Uh, First of all, I want to say that there is a lot of confusion in this subject. Many people in many companies, they start they create ads to find new people, to recruit people, and normally you are looking for a UI UX designer, but in the request you really are looking for a graphic designer, or you need a graphic designer, but in all the skills that you need for the person, you are asking for a UX and a UI designer. It's very common that people get this confusion. It's very common that us as designers don't even know where is the limit of each area, because as you know, design is a fantastic world, is an amazing world. It has many areas. It is a very interesting topic to talk about, and that's why I think that it's important to share this information with you, and you can understand every role and every professional that you will meet, that you will need, and every role that you are committed in a company as a UX designer, or as a graphic designer, or as a UI designer. So first of all, I need to define what design is. Okay, to start this, we have to define what is design. This is another topic that has a lot of confusion, and many people think many different things about design. There are people that believe that design is about colors, about rainbows, about stars, about beautiful drawings, or about creativity and imagination. But that's not the truth. Actually, design is about solving a problem. And to start that with that, I will give you a very interesting example. Okay, let's imagine that we live in a world where we don't have anywhere to sit down. We are standing all the time or sitting on rocks, and that is not comfortable for us. The chairs have not been invented yet, so we are having this problem to rest, to sit down, to eat. And we go to a designer. He starts analyzing this problem. He looks at the situation, and he comes with a solution. Okay, he takes a couple of things and creates this. You create a stool. Okay, this is a very simple object. It has three legs. It has a seat, and you can sit down there. You can rest. You can eat. You can do whatever you need there. And the problem has been solved. We found a way to rest and to sit down. Eventually, with the time, many people start having backaches. Sorry, start having backaches, or they start feeling uncomfortable with this chair, with this stool, and then another designer comes with another approach with this and creates this. Okay, this is a normal chair that we know. It has a back seat, then you can rest your back. It's more comfortable, it's better, and the solution is still you're still giving the best solution for the problem. Okay, to sit down and to rest and to relax. You have created an amazing object, an object that many people will use. And then after you have defined this function, there are many designers, and they can come with many different ideas. Then you have and start making your stylish things. You come with your own approach and create something with a different material. It's not wood anymore, it's plastic, or you want to put something more elegant and create a leather sofa. Another designer comes and says, okay, I need to put wheels on my chair because I need to move from one place to another, and then you get an office chair. But all of these chairs are keeping the same function. Okay, they are giving the same solution with minor improvements and with more aesthetic, but the solution is the first thing that you can see. In the case that you see this chair, this is a maybe it's beautiful chair. Many people will say, oh, I love this chair, I want this chair, but it's not functional. This chair, you cannot sit there because the back seat is in the middle of the seat, and you won't be able to sit down there. It has no function. So that's an example of a bad design. Okay, it can be beautiful, the color can be great, but it's not working, it's not giving a solution, so it's a bad design, a bad approach. So in this case, I have to define and say that form always follows function. Design is about creating things that work. Design is about solving people's problems. And I have these quotes. The first one is from Steve Jobs. Most of you must know him. He was from Apple. In his days, Apple was a company that was obsessed with design, and he said that design isn't just what it looks like and feels like, design is how it works. So he was saying that all the components that you have in a cell phone must work in a way that people desire to have that iPhone or iPod in that time, and all these elements work together, creating a very unique item and a very great tool for solving people problems, like listening to music or talking to other people through the cell phone, of that kind of stuff. And then we have another quote from Louis Sullivan. He's the father of modern architecture. He was a designer of many buildings, and he says, "Form ever follows function." Okay, if you define the function, then you adapt the form to keep that function. You can mix materials, you can mix color and everything, but the most important thing is function. So what is design? Design is about creating solutions for people and not pretty things, okay? Not pretty things. There are many good designs that are not pretty, but are functional, and then you can put anything you want to make them more stylish. So we have some areas of design here. There are many more. Here I wanted to show you a little bit of things that you can see, and like industrial design. It's about creating mechanisms, about creating tools. Industrial design is um, putting pieces together, creating pieces. That's the job of an industrial designer, for engines, for machinery in general. The interface designer, who designs interfaces, or also called as UI designer. Have software designers that design databases or well, okay, everything that goes with the software. Architecture design, which is buildings, bridges, churches, everything that's architectural. You have fashion design, which is clothing, obviously, designing clothes, designing outfits for people. Interior design, it's also very common nowadays. The interior design is creating nice environments inside a house, like living rooms, or also for restaurants. It's very used for stores. Now the stores are very interested in having great interior design, and it has evolved a lot from what it started. You have the graphic design, which is one of the subjects that we are going to talk today, and you have the UX design. Okay, from all these areas, there are more. You have people who design vehicles. You have people who design airplanes. People who design, I don't know, many things. There are a wide world of design, but these are some common areas that you may know. I wanted to show this to you because it's a great book. It's called Change by Design. It's a book by Tim Brown. He's here in this book. He talks about the design thinking. Design thinking is a process in which we can solve people's problem. In a TED talk from Tim Brown, he was asked about this, and he said that he works with many companies. He works with private companies, government companies, non-profit companies, with social groups, with many solving many problems. And he said, "It's not. I do not need to be an expert on every area on these companies, but I can solve their problems because I use the process called design thinking. I use this methodology. It's a very interesting methodology. It starts with these steps. A little, I can summarize a little bit, is to empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. And in this way, you can solve many of the problems that you can have, not only about design, but about life even. So this topic is very interesting. It's amazing. I leave the book, Change by Design. You can Google it, you can research more, and it's a very interesting topic. I really recommend you to go and research more about this design thinking methodology. Okay, with that said, I'm going to start with the topic of today. Okay, graphic design versus UX and UI design. What is graphic design? Graphic design is to design or create visual elements to communicate a message. That is the most important skill or the most important uh, objective that a graphic designer has. Okay, we have many tools to create graphic designers, but the most important thing is that we communicate a message, and the audience, in this case we call the people audience, the audience receives the message and gives us positive feedback about the message that we are sending to people through our products. We use many things like lines, shapes, form, space, value, color, texture, everything that's visual, so we can create products. In this case, I listed some of the products like flyers, brochures, magazines, catalogs, logos, packaging. Okay, anything that we can build to send this message to people. Nowadays, it is very it has grown a lot. In the past, when I started as a graphic designer, most of graphic design was printed. Okay, was for printing products like magazines or advertising, or this, as I said, flyers. But nowadays, with the technology, now we create many things for social media that are not printed, but they are made to be seen on a screen, or on a web page, or in different medias. But the thing is the same, that we have to communicate the message through these pieces. Another important thing is that graphic design is brand centric. Okay, I don't mean that brand centric is only for companies or private companies. No, but we take the focus for our clients as a brand. They can be, in this case, as you're looking now, you see a couple of brands, but we can also work with political parties, with the government, with social institutions, with non-profit organizations, okay, with anything, but we take them as a brand. We as a designers see them as a brands, and we define colors, we create logos, we define color palettes based on their needs. We define photographies, everything that we are going to use, we define it as a brand. Okay. For example, if we take one of these brands, let's say Coca-Cola, a graphic designer working for Coca-Cola must create different elements to communicate people about a new campaign of Coca-Cola. Normally, for example, they use families, or they use union to send a message, and so people can receive the message of union, of family gathering, and buy Coca-Cola for their Christmas or Thanksgiving or that kind of stuff. And people are getting the message, and giving a positive feedback, going to buy Coca-Cola and to drink Coca-Cola in different opportunities that they can have, and they appear. Okay, that is one basic example of what's a brand-centric approach. Okay, some of the graphic designer skills are these ones: creativity, typography, color theory, computer-aided design. Okay, normally back in the days, designers used to work with rulers, with pen, with colors, with paint. Nowadays, we have the possibility to design on a computer. That's amazing. It has solved a lot of problems for us. But we have to know about color theory, about harmonies, about how to mix one color and the other, what emotion does that color bring to people, for example. That's color theory. We have to know about typography, which typography is readable, which one is not readable, which typography communicates a message better in the case that we are working, or for the company that we're working with. And that's basically some of the skills. There are many other skills. Here I want to talk about a little bit about something that is a confusion for people. Many people believe that the graphic designer must know how to draw. The people who draw, we call them illustrators. They are called illustrators. They create characters. They create animals. I don't know. They draw different things for us to use in our projects. But if you are a graphic designer and you are an illustrator too, that's great, because you will have more opportunities. But it's not like mandatory that you have to know how to illustrate to be a graphic designer. If you have a team, you can have a person who is in charge of drawing, of doing that illustrations, and you are a designer. But in the case you can mix these skills, it's much better, and it's great for you, for your portfolio, for looking for jobs. It would be great. And also, all the skills that you can mix and you can get, the more skills, the better. Okay. Some of the popular tools that a graphic designer uses are these ones. Okay, there are more. These are like the main tools. And Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator. This is this is very important that a graphic designer knows how to use them. It will be something that we use day to day. The Photoshop, is the best tool for photo retouching, and today is still the best. There are some tools that are like trying to reach the level of Photoshop, but Photoshop is still the best. Then you have Illustrator to create vector graphics, which are graphics that are not based on pixels, so you can scale them, you can enlarge them, and they won't affect, they won't pixelate, because they are based on vectors. Is one of the best tools. Then you have a tool called Procreate. It's a great tool. It's used by graphic designers and by illustrators because it has many good tools to draw. Other great suite is the Affinity suite. It's this past years it's been growing a lot, and many people use Affinity instead of Photoshop or Illustrator because it has some great tools, not at the same level, but you can use them. It's a great suite of tools. And one of the other tools that many people use in the world of graphic design is Corel Draw. The graphic suite of Corel Draw, you have there a very strong suite for creating visual communication and graphic design. With that said, I want to talk about what's a UX designer. Okay, a UX designer is a person that has to be focused on the interaction that users have with the product, and has to create the best experience for the user, the best experience possible for the user. Okay, now in this time we are. It's a very fast growing. It's a very fast growing career. Okay, the UX design is a career that right now many people are looking for. because it is the link of a company with the final user, okay, with the people that are going to use the applications or the software or whatever that this company creates. Okay, now a UX designer can work with websites, apps, in software, objects, wireframes, prototypes, in many areas. But the important thing is that the UX designer is a user-oriented person. Okay, so in this case, a user is a person who employs a particular thing or a product or an object. Okay, the UX designers have many tools to create these studies. Okay, they have to analyze the user, they have to define the user, and they have many tools for this. One of the tools are interviews, polls, focus groups. Okay, they have to separate the users and segregate them in different groups, like for instance age groups, ethnicity, gender, I don't know, people with studies or people without studies, people who work in high companies or people who work in low budget projects. There are many ways to separate and to investigate about the user. We have to know a lot about researching, a lot about uh, of knowing people. Okay, that's why many people not only come, many UX designers not only come from a background of graphic design as I did, but many people come from different backgrounds like psychology, anthropology, because they are people that understand how people think and then can give solutions for them. So that's why it's not like necessary to be a graphic designer to become a UX designer. There are people coming from different areas, because the UX designer, the first job of the first function of a UX designer is to investigate and research the user, okay, and to create the interaction that the user will have with this product. There are some skills of a UX designer. They include empathy, because you have to be on the place of the user. You have to put yourself on the place of the user to see how he thinks, how he receives the things. For example, it's not the same to create an app for a person that's for people over 60 than to create an app for people lower than 12 years old, for example. So in this case, you have to do a big research and understand the needs of the people, the likes of the people, what these people enjoy the most, and then you have to create some things to adapt to the product to them. One of the important things that a UX designer does is wireframing. This is called wireframing. It's to create the sketches. Nowadays we have many tools. I'm going to talk about the tools later, but we have many tools to create sketches. But we still use paper and pen. That's another great way to create sketches. Okay, a piece of paper or a notebook, pen, and we start creating and designing our app. Okay, then we have another step called another step called the mockup. Okay, the mockup is taking these sketches and giving them a little bit of more visual look. It's like creating placeholders for pictures or creating some little texts. That's the mockup. And finally, we have the prototype, which is the basic. It's a basic view of the final product. It doesn't have to be the final product exactly, but with this prototype, we can start working, sending them to our users, letting them use this prototype, and we can have a feedback. And with this feedback, we can arrange things. For example, if you see the prototype, the third image, you send to the user can tell you, we don't like the yellow button. Okay, so we take that feedback, we change the button, and we put it in another color, for instance, in red, and until we have a product that is good for them. Also, we can show them the steps for everything that we do. For example, in this case, a UX designer has to analyze all the steps that a person has to take to do a certain work. For example, let's take an example of an online shop. Okay, if you have an online shop and you want to buy a pair of shoes and you have 4 steps, maybe in the second step, people will get lost. People won't have more attention to the web page, and this user will not buy the pair of shoes. But if we take this and we make it and keep it simple, and we can condense all these steps into 1 step or 2 steps, as simple as we can, people will buy the shoes, the company will fulfill its objective, and we as designers are giving a good experience for people. So we have many examples of interactions. For example, in Instagram, when you like a picture, okay, that's an example of UX design, because you are sharing your experience, or the thing that this picture cost. And that's why I say that a UX designer, the most important thing of a UX designer is to research, to investigate, and analyze. Okay. There are popular tools for a UX designer. There are many popular tools. These are like some tools. There are many tools. But the first set of tools, like Balsamiq, Adobe XD, Figma, and Sketch, they are tools that help us to create wireframes. Okay, they are great for creating wireframes and prototypes. I recommend to work and to give a little research to Adobe XD. It's an amazing and very strong tool to create wireframes. Figma is a great tool too. It's very good. These are tools that help us to create wireframes. Okay, so we say this. For example, we take a wireframe and put the button in the middle of the screen. We can put the menu up or the menu down. But all this wireframing comes from the previous research. Okay, and then we send this to a UI designer we send this wireframing to a UI designer so he can give the final look of the product. And we have another tools that are for research, like Hotjar. Hotjar is a great tool because it gives you heat maps, and it can show you exactly where people click in your application, what buttons people use, what buttons people do not use. It can show you where do people lose interest in your product, exactly with visual things, like with map hits and everything. Like, people went out of the application using this button, and you can see and make solutions with that. Other good tool is Google Analytics. It's a great tool, but Hotjar is more visual. Google Analytics is more is not that visual, but it gives you some of this information too. And you have Maze, which is a great tool to create prototypes, to create and to share them with people. People can use them, give you feedback, and you can start working with this. It's an amazing tool. There are many other tools. As I said before, you have not only like digital tools, but also to communicate with people, have one-on-one interviews. You have to talk to people in focus groups. You have to be close to people and know exactly what people like, what people want, and you are there to give them that, exactly what they need. And then we have the UI designer. Many people have confusion with the UI designer because they are skills that go together. They are professionals that work together hand on hand, because a UI designer is responsible for creating the visual and interaction design based on the user experience. Okay, here the interface is the magical place where the human and machine interaction happens, okay, where it occurs. An interface, the definition of an interface is something that helps you communicate one system with another system, okay? We have, for example, audio interfaces. When you have a microphone, okay, you connect the microphone to an interface. That interface takes the sounds, converts them into information that goes to the computer, and the computer can analyze this information and can work with the information. You can then edit it. You can volume up, volume down. You can do many things with that inside the computer, but using that interface. So that's the definition of an interface. And right now, in our world, we are full of interfaces. We have cars. You communicate yourself with the car through the wheel, through the pedals. You have screens. You have voice, also things that operate with voice, like for instance, the Alexa or Siri or these kind of intelligences that are operated by voice. Okay, there are many ways that you can communicate with them, and that's the job of the UI designer. Normally, right now the boom of a UI designer are screens. That's the main place where people work right now as UI designers. But today, there are one of the areas that's growing very fast right now is the sound, the voice. The voice interfaces. Right now, many people are activating things by voice, through their voices, and that's like a new tendency, and it's great also to learn this. But in this case, normally we associate UI designers with interfaces, in websites, apps, in software, and basically screens. Right now, we live in a world with screens. We have screens in our cars. We have screens on the bank. We have screens. We have a computer. We have cell phones. We have smart TVs. The screens are everywhere, and we are here to help people communicate with these screens and to create a better and more beautiful world for them. Because if we as designers do not put effort in our work, then all the things that you see will be like boring, or they will not be nice. They won't have animation. So that's why I personally say that the job of a UI designer is to make this world of communication between the people and the computers a beautiful place to be. The user visual experience is, as I said, is this. Okay, how do we interact with the applications? How do we interact with our machines? For example, we need to scroll to see more information, or we have to click something to give an emotion or to give a like, or we have to enter our data into a form. Okay, that's how we interact with the system. And then it's important also what the system gives us as a feedback. For example, as a UI designer, I have to create the messages for errors when you do not enter a correct field, or we have to create a message of okay, that's good, continue with the process. All that things are created by a UI designer, always based on the UX research. Always. That's why I say we work hand in hand. The UX tells us, okay, the button must be on the top. Me as a designer, I take that research, create the button, create the colors, create all the appearance for that button to be better, but put it there in the top, because the UX experience has a reason for that. Okay, he's the one that gives me that reason. Some of the skills that a UI designer needs is empathy, typography. Okay, it's important to know which typography to use in which screen. It's not the same to design an interface for, I don't know, for a smart TV with like the 50-inch TV, or to design the same product for a smartphone. Okay, so you have to see what typography really works with it, with which typography It's readable. It's important that you have to know about color theory. Okay, which color can match with which colors. Design patterns. Design patterns are some designs that people expect to see. For example, when you enter a web page, you expect to see the menu on the top. That is like something like 99% of the websites have the menu on the top. That's a design pattern. It's not like mandatory, because if you as a UX designer do a research and your group likes to have the menu on the side, then you put it on the side. But normally, a design pattern is this. Okay, the menu goes on the top. That's the design pattern. We have to understand why this design pattern is used. Many people are used to this. Many people are, with the time, have got this in their heads. Okay, we know that the menu will be in the top, and that's why we create design patterns. And there are many examples of design patterns. As I said, the menus is one. Other design pattern is the X for closing, and the line for minimizing something. That's a design pattern, because normally if you want, you can put I don't know, an elephant to close, but people won't know that that elephant is there to close the application. Okay, that's why I say they are design patterns. They are also, they work with the interactivity, with the animation. Nowadays, animation is very important because it makes a product more interesting, and it's very important to know some things about animation. And as I said, always UX, UI, they go with the hand. They are like a couple. If you are a UI designer, you have to be a good friend with your UX designers. And if you have both abilities or both skills, both knowledge, it's better for you. Some tools that a UI designer uses, popular tools are Sketch, Figma, invision, Balsamiq, Axure, and Adobe XD. These are like the main tools. Adobe XD is awesome. I recommend it. It's great. Figma is a great tool too. I know many designers that continue designing screens on Illustrator or Photoshop. Back in the days when I started with UI design, we used to design them in Photoshop or Illustrator, because there were no specific softwares to design screens. Okay, most softwares were meant to design for graphic designers. I come from that school. I was a graphic designer all my life, and I used to design them in Illustrator and Photoshop. But nowadays we have Adobe XD, which is a great tool. It's an amazing tool for designing screens. You can animate things there. You can have a very professional look, and you can export them in different languages. That's also a good step for developers, because you export your designs. You have a code, and the developer can go through that and do everything they need to do. But it saves a lot of time, and it gives them a lot of help too, because they do not have to start from zero. Okay, that's also a great thing that I recommend from Adobe XD. If you are interested in this world, go search for it, start using it. And also another great tool, as I said, is Figma. Figma is a very common tool used in UI design. Okay. UX UI designers. UX UI designers, as I said, we have to be like brothers, always together. If we want to go, we are always hand in hand. We work together all the time. I show you this like an iceberg. Okay, you have the tip of the iceberg, which is the thing that you can see. That's the UI design, and the bottom of the water you have the UX design. Okay, I compare it for developers. I know most people in Jobsity or here the UR developers. I compare this to the back end and the front end development. Okay, the UX is the back end and the UI is the front end. The UI is what you see, and the UX is all the research behind what you can see. Okay, so for example, the UX designer has to do research, evaluation, data analysis, and information architecture, usability, testing, wireframing, and then the UI designer takes all this information, okay, takes all the information given by a UX and starts working with that, creating the visual aspect of the product, defining color, typography, defining visual elements, creating different visual elements like buttons, scrolls, I don't know, photographies, everything that you will see. That's the job of the UI designer. And that's why I use this example always, because we work together. We work very in the project, in all the projects. You will see always a UX designer and a UI designer. And as I said, all these skills you can learn many of them, and you can be a good professional by merging all of them into one. In my case, I started as a graphic designer long ago, and then I started learning these new technologies, UI, UX design. And nowadays I am working on that, and it's a great world, an amazing world. Is also nice, and all these skills are complementing to create great projects. Finally, as a conclusion, I want to show a little. This is a little thing that can define everything, and you can understand and what is each role, and what does every professional do in their area. Okay, a UX design makes all the research. For example, he takes the soup and creates a spoon because that's the solution that the user needs to eat the soup. Okay, so it's like the statement there. This soup works well for the soup. The spoon works well for the soup. Sorry. Then the UI designer takes this and makes it and complements the function, making it beautiful. Okay, he puts in color, he puts in the materials, he puts in everything to make it stylish, to make it beautiful, to make it look great. So people can say, I like how this spoon looks. And the graphic designer finally is the one that gives a visual interest to that spoon. It reinforces the content and adds an emotion. For example, here, as I said, here's a picture of the spoon. And this picture can motivate you to buy the spoon, to use the spoon. It can show you how to different steps to use the spoon. Okay, that's like an infography or that kind of stuff. Okay, and this is how we define every role. I hope you find this information useful. I hope that you can understand now better what is this world of design and the different areas that we talked about. And I hope that for now on, you as a designer, if you want to learn more from these different areas, feel free to research there. Right now we have a lot of content in different platforms, and you will learn these skills very easily and nice.
Okay, thanks Marcelo for your presentation. It was awesome, and thank you so much to all the people who joined. It was a really great experience for us. So feel free to post any questions so Marcelo can answer that. In the meantime, I have a question. So, what is the main thing that you consider before prioritizing going to an approach of UX design or UI design or a graphic design in, let's say, a project?
Okay. The first thing is that we have to define the project. Okay, that's the main the first step, and then every project. Right now, I believe that every project must have a UX designer. That's the first thing, because it's important. Right now, we have a lot of companies creating new things, creating projects, creating stuff, and the UX designer is the one that has all this knowledge to match with the user and to create the matching point between the company and the final user. So I think that's the first the first step, the UX design, and then depending on the project, you can be part of it as a UI designer or as a graphic designer. What is a UI designer? In this case, you are creating the product itself. Let's talk about an application. The UX designer is the one that creates all the research from the users that are going to use this application. The UI designer will create the application, and finally, the step of a graphic designer is to sell that application. That is like the three steps. Okay. In my case, for instance, I have a background in the three areas, so I can work through all the process. But there are people right now that are specializing in every aspect. I recommend right now in UX design, there is a lot of work, a lot of job opportunities. UX design is growing a lot, and it's the area that is getting better salaries or better payments. UI design is also great if you like colors, because there are many people that do not like to deal with users. You don't like to talk to them or to interview them or to analyze them, but you like to create things for them. So in that case, UI is a great space for you. And graphic designers, we are the ones that like to communicate messages. Okay, we live in the world of communication, and that's it. It depends on what you like.
Nice, Marcelo. So Miguel Sanchez asks, which platform you recommend? Yeah, I guess recommend. So to a front-end developer to learn more about UI and UX.
Okay. There are a lot of places where you can find content of UX and UI design. I really for me, I started on YouTube. There is a lot of content of UX and UI design. There's huge. You have many things to learn there. There are people that have posted things that are really amazing and great. If you want to learn to start on YouTube, and then you have another platforms like I forgot the name of okay, it's like Udemy. In Udemy, you have also great courses. Okay, great courses for UX design. I recommend those.
Nice. Okay, so we have another question from Oscar Bernal. So he asks, what is your favorite tool? I have used XD and Invision, also a bit of Figma. So what's your favorite and why?
My personal favorite tool is Adobe XD. And why? Because as I said, I've been working with Adobe all my life, with Illustrator, Photoshop, and now with XD. So I am very used to this suite of Adobe. And XD has a lot of tools, great tools for UI design and UX design. It's for me the best. But if I have to take another one, it would be Figma. Figma is growing a lot. It's great. It has great tools too, and it's very powerful two. I will say that both of them are great.
Nice. So yeah, seems that we don't have any more questions. So thanks, Marcelo, again. It was really nice to have this chat, and please don't forget to join us in the next Lunch and Learn the next month.
Yes, yes, I will be there. Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit of my knowledge with people. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you gotten good information, and yes, feel free to contact me.
Okay, so we have last one question from Mitzi Baskets, and he's
Really,
asking, yeah, what do you recommend to get first job as someone new in UX and UI, sorry.
what I recommend. Okay, one of the things that I recommend is the first thing that I recommend to get a job as a UX and a UI designer is to work on the portfolio, on your portfolio of UX and UI. In my, as I said, normally there are projects when you are starting. It's kind of, it's not difficult, but one of the things that I started doing when I started as a designer is to start doing pro bono work. For example, going to the, I don't know, a little company, a little store, and tell them, could you let me create an app for you, and then create something that can work for them, and so you can get a portfolio, because it is important to show the things that you can do and to show that you can solve problems. Okay, that's the first thing, and that's how I started. I recommend I can tell you, I don't know, maybe take a couple of hours and start working on something for yourself, for your uh, for to show the recruiters that you can do different things, and that's it. That's my recommendation.
O- Okay, so thanks again, Marcelo. It's really nice recommendation, and yeah, as I said, I hope to see everybody in the next Lunch and Learn. Have a good week.
Thank you very much.